We have Derek. Derek's from 616 Lofts. I've heard of any of his projects. Derek, where's he at? I don't know. There's a bunch of people standing up right now.
Everybody's leaving.
Yeah, that's all right. All the important people are standing. So, a personal thank you, though, to Derek for starting his project and changing downtown. I've lived downtown for 10 years, and I want to thank you for doing some of the things that you're doing in the city. It's amazing. We didn't actually get to do it.
I can't imagine. Can I try it? Can we try it?
How are you? No.
I sold your clicker.
Are you sure?
Oh, I get the clicker?
I have to hit play.
I screwed one.
You got to spill on aisle 3 here. All the buttons I can hit.
Got it?
Is it just going to like autoplay?
It should, but you got to put the next one.
Oh, I do. Every time I do this. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get fired before I get started here. You got it?
Hey, got it.
Cool.
All right, you ready?
Let's do this.
All right. So I'm actually very grateful for this opportunity to be able to talk about how our industry relates to design.
That sounds so formal for you, Mike.
It's very formal. Typically, we don't get this opportunity and don't sound like designers. So I'd love to hear your take on how you think that development relates to design.
Wow. That sounds so formal. I'm not used to that from Monica. So can I just stop?
Go ahead.
So Monica, I just have to give a little bit of a preview to Monica because I think this venue is very cool to me. I think it's fun that we can actually choose who we have to interview us. And when they told us we could do that, they actually said, I think your significant other, wife, or somebody that works for you or with you. And so if I pick somebody other than my significant other, there should be a very good reason, I would think, right?
Right.
Monica, she kind of jumped off the cliff with me 5 years ago when I met her. She was in a very stable job, and she was actually pregnant for her 3rd child, Zoe, and she kind of took the leap out with me into the new kind of company I was creating, which was 616 Lofts, and I will be forever grateful for Monica for doing that, and knowing that she's completely nuts. She'll probably do it again, so.
Thank you.
There you go. So that's why I chose Monica.
All right.
All right, what was the question?
Okay, so now, how would you say that our industry, being development, would relate to design?
Development is design. I think real estate development, just as you saw with shoes, there's design. There's just such a wide spectrum of things that happen in the design world and development. I always kind of connect it to the wild, wild west, I call it. There's no rules. I mean, you can't evade taxes and you can't have fraud. Those are the main rules, but everything other than that we can do. So the way we structure deals, the way that we design buildings, there's no rules. And so it's kind of fun. So from a design standpoint, I feel like we go from a very, I'd say human start with the structuring of deals and kind of understanding everybody's wants and needs and probably more wants, and then going to an actual design concept with architects to take a space and start to actually program what's going to happen there. And I think then it goes into actually a physical form, which is actually building what's going to happen in that space that you visualized happening before. And then for us, we go into more of a kind of a higher place, which is community creation, which is kind of the core of what we're all about. And Monica actually kind of leads the community creation piece for us. So she probably knows more about that than I do.
So one question that I was looking forward to asking you, because you spend so much time asking everybody this question, what is it that actually stirs your soul?
Oh, wow.
It's hard to answer, isn't
We
it?
actually rehearsed this. And I'm like OCD a little bit, so I like to actually know what's going to happen. What stirs my soul? It's such a primitive, cool, gutsy question. Creation for me is what does it. It's what I get in trouble with Mandy on a Saturday night when we're watching a terrible movie and my mind is like out there. Just the creative piece of this whole world is what does it for me. Creation and restoration are kind of my mantra, and I think if you can be in a creative spot, which is so much obviously design, it's really what wakes me up in the morning. It's what keeps me going, and it's probably creation.
Okay. So kind of along those lines, and kind of how I started, it's a little bit different to look at our industry in the world of design, perhaps maybe to others, but I know we look at it every day. So I would say maybe as an outsider, you're not an architect, you're not an engineer, an interior designer, you're a developer. And as we deal with that day to day, like you were saying, even in architecture and everything that we deal with as a developer, what qualifies you most as a designer?
You made me sound so bad right there. Oh my gosh. Good beauty school dropout here. Geez. I think probably the thing that most qualifies me is my dad was a high school drafting teacher.
Perfect.
He,
And you learned from him?
I did. There's more to that.
I'm sure there is.
I think growing up, my dad, he was an actual, that wasn't a joke. He was a drafting teacher, and my dad was one of those dads that took the child wherever he went. And so I always went in on the weekends with him, and he had these big drafting tables, and he had this machine that printed out blueprints that I remember going in and just like the smell of ammonia from the machine that created these prints that they actually drew with lead on the, it was before CAD and all that computer stuff. I actually learned how to draw by rolling your pencil so it stayed sharp. Just little things like that were so cool to me. And the biggest part of that whole thing was my dad was always big on, you can design anything. So, I started drawing with him in junior high, and of course at junior high you draw, a house that has like a basketball court in the under basement, and then on top of that was a pool, and on top of that was 3 pools, and it was just cool, right? You could do whatever you wanted, and you never really crushed any creativity that I had. And I think from this day, in our design process, I'll always tell our architects that, whatever you do, don't turn me down on the first thing I say, because I'll come to my architects and I'll say, what if we take off this part of the building and then raise it, 3 levels, and then cut off the top level, and I just want to fulfill the whole vision before somebody crushes the creativity, before somebody stifles it. And so, or stifle, Matt. Is it stifle or stipend? Thank you. Well, everybody knows except me. And so, I think just keeping the open mind, and just being brought up in this world in a way where anything was possible from a physical and a design standpoint was cool. He had a competition where one of his students challenged the class to build boats out of cement, and then they did it, and they built the boats out of cement, and they floated them. And at 4th grade, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It was cool.
Would you say that maybe because of that from what you do, that architecture may be your favorite piece of the development process? Or I know, because construction horrifies you, so I know that's not your favorite. But
gosh.
we have several different pieces to the whole process that you deal with. So would you say that maybe architecture is your favorite?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably not though. Probably humans are my favorite part of the whole process. Probably like the human emotional design that goes into our projects is the most stimulating to me and the most fascinating. And obviously the architecture and the construction does absolutely horrify me. I'll actually do a segue right here. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Let's do this. We have probably, the next 2 years, we'll probably do almost $100 million in construction. And I almost throw up in my mouth when I say that. Because it is so scary, because I think a huge part of our design process, stops with architecture, and it starts way before that with a vision. When we see a building or a space, my job is way on the front end of kind of visualizing what will actually happen there, and actually for me to keep a job, I actually have to make that thing make money, which is a whole other tough part. But it's all design. It's all financial design. It's interior design. It's everything. So when we look at a building, at the point where I actually picture people living there and it actually starts to make economic sense and we can actually maybe do this project, that's actually when my job is done within our little tribe that we've created. And so the design process for me stops. It continues for others in our world. But for me, construction is so scary because when the point where I actually, stop the design in my brain is the point where everybody starts the actual physical construction. So every day I go there and it's under construction. It's like a day where I thought people were actually living there. So it's kind of like it's distorted reality is what Steve Jobs called it. So I said,
You brought up a really good point about the whole human aspect of everything. And I think that, from my perspective, I think that's obviously one of the best things that you do. And looking at it from that point of view is you actually do, that is art and you do create it and it is, so dealing with the people and relationships, how do you kind of use that to collaborate and bring that together and design a whole development from that?
Is that a question?
It's a question.
What was the question? Can I put you on the spot? What was that?
I don't know. I got excited. Okay, so so dealing with people, which is construction is something that horrifies you.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So dealing with people is really is kind of your design for an entire project.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so I hire people to do the things that I'm terrible at, which is most of it. That's the design that I think I've finally mastered, is actually understanding that I have really severe limitations when it comes to the design process. And I think if you ever want to do design for a living, actually understanding what you're really, really bad at is a big deal, because you should stop doing that now. And you should figure out the one or two things you might be really good at and put all of that energy, into that. And I know there's lots of books written on that, but when you actually do that, I think it becomes a big deal. And so, we've built our design process around that human element of, I'm on the front end, and we actually take all of our design process and put it in the form of a funnel where I'm on the top end, and then as soon as I'm done with it, it goes to Monica, and as soon as she's done with it, it goes to another person, and we've kind of built a whole thing around our talents. And so we review our strengths all the time and focus there, and if we have a gap, we fill it as quickly as we can, which we just hired a CPA, which obviously we had a financial accounting gap, which is filled now. So we can maybe stay in business longer. Is that true? What do you think, Matt?
Well, I know we have a lot coming up, and we're really excited about projects to come. So I think that we're very excited to throw it out there to Grand Rapids as well, and kind of show them the next steps for our design process. I think we're good.
Good.
Yep.